The bakery door slammed open as a gust of cold morning wind swept inside, carrying the scent of fresh bread and sugar. The little boy froze just inside the threshold, eyes wide, shivering from the chill and nerves. He tugged at the hem of his tattered shirt, glancing around at the bustling bakery. Customers whispered and laughed softly, their eyes flicking to him with quiet judgment. He swallowed hard, holding a small coin tightly in his palm, almost too tiny to notice. Do you have any day-old cake?" he asked, his voice barely louder than a whisper. The words trembled, not just from cold but from the weight of pride swallowed whole. The baker paused, his hands mid-flour, eyebrows lifting. "A day-old cake?" he asked cautiously, as if asking might expose some deeper shame. The boy nodded quickly, biting his lip. He didn't want pity, just a piece of cake, just enough for one hungry stomach. Behind the counter, flour dusted the baker's apron as he grabbed a small, slightly hardened slice, wrapping it gently in wax paper. The boy's fingers tightened around the coin, but he didn't move forward yet. From the corner of the bakery, a voice rich and smooth, yet commanding, made the boy flinch. A day-old cake? It wasn't a question. It was a recognition. The little boy looked up and saw a man in a sharply tailored suit, stepping past the coffee counter. His eyes, sharp and observant, were fixed on him. The billionaire. He didn't know the man, only that his presence radiated power, and somehow attention. The billionaire smiled faintly, a rare softness flickering in his eyes, almost as if he remembered a boy he once was. He leaned casually against the counter, watching quietly as the boy accepted the wrapped cake with a nod of thanks. The baker said nothing, sensing the gravity of the moment, while the other customers continued their murmurs, unaware of the unfolding tension. The boy clutched the wax paper, almost afraid to unfold it, as though opening the package might shatter reality. He wanted nothing more than to hurry home, to a small apartment up 3 flights of stairs, where his little sister and sick mother waited for him. The billionaire, however, didn't move. He stayed at the counter, watching. Outside, the city hummed with morning life, horns blaring, shoes clicking on wet pavement. But inside, the bakery felt suspended in time. Every small movement was magnified. The boy's trembling hands, the soft rustle of paper, the billionaire's calm yet intense gaze. "Hey, are you okay?" the billionaire finally asked, stepping closer, lowering his voice just enough so only the boy could hear. The boy nodded, unsure if he should speak. He'd never been addressed by a man so clearly important, so clearly powerful, without judgment. You like cake?" the billionaire asked, a small teasing smile tugging at his lips. The boy's eyes widened. "Yes, sir," he whispered. I haven't eaten much today." The billionaire's expression softened, his gaze dropping to the coin in the boy's hand. It was tiny, worn, barely enough to pay for what he'd already taken. There was an unmistakable honesty in the boy's eyes, a rawness that cut through the billionaire's polished life like a knife. "Would you like something else?" the billionaire asked, leaning slightly on the counter. His tone wasn't indulgent. It wasn't charity. It was curiosity mixed with intention, a rare combination that the boy had never encountered. The boy hesitated, glancing at the baker, who shrugged subtly. The billionaire's presence was overwhelming, but not threatening. Felt safe almost. "Yes, please," the boy murmured, and the billionaire nodded. A few moments later, the billionaire made a quick call from the bakery phone, speaking quietly but firmly. Orders were being placed, arrangements made, and a plan forming that the boy couldn't even imagine. The bakery smelled of sugar, bread, and flour, but now it also hummed with the unspoken tension of something extraordinary about to happen. The boy slowly unwrapped his day-old cake, taking a tentative bite. It was dry, not sweet enough to delight, but enough to quell hunger. He closed his eyes for a moment, savoring it, unaware that his simple act of asking had set off a chain reaction that would change everything. The billionaire sipped his coffee, watching him, and a small frown creased his forehead. Not in annoyance, but in thought. Memories stirred, of his own childhood, when money had been scarce and kindness rare. Something inside him had shifted. Outside, pedestrians moved quickly, unaware of the quiet drama in the small bakery. The bell above the door jingled as another customer entered, breaking the tension slightly. The billionaire straightened, adjusting his cufflinks. He caught the boy's gaze one last time before speaking again. "You have courage," he said softly. "It's not easy to ask for what you need." The boy blinked, surprised. I wasn't sure if it was allowed," he admitted. The billionaire chuckled softly, a deep, rich sound. "Sometimes, asking is the hardest thing in the world. Sometimes, it's the only way to be heard." The boy nodded slowly, digesting not just the words but the weight behind them. He hadn't known anyone in a long time who truly saw him without judgment or impatience. The billionaire leaned on the counter, glancing around the bakery, then back at the boy. "Stay here a moment," he said, and stepped out briefly. The baker's hands trembled slightly as he returned to his work, aware of the unusual attention. Other customers whispered, noticing the subtle shift in the air. Something was happening, something that neither the boy nor anyone else could yet understand. When the billionaire returned, he carried something small and neatly wrapped. "This is for you," he said, placing it in front of the boy. The boy looked at it with wide eyes. I can't take that," he whispered. "You can," the billionaire replied firmly but kindly. "You've earned it by being brave enough to ask." The boy's lips quivered. He wasn't used to kindness like this. The billionaire's eyes held a gentle insistence, and slowly, he accepted the gift. As the boy left the bakery, clutching his cake and the new gift, the billionaire watched him go. The city's morning chaos continued outside, but inside, the bakery held a quiet, charged energy. Something had shifted, and everyone who witnessed it, even if they didn't realize it, felt it. The billionaire picked up his coffee again, taking a slow sip, lost in thought. He had not just witnessed a small act of courage. He had been drawn into it, and something inside him stirred, demanding action. And so began the chain of events that no one in the bakery could have imagined. Hey, if you're loving this story so far, don't forget to hit the like button, comment your thoughts, and subscribe to catch the rest of this incredible journey. The little boy hurried down the narrow alley behind the bakery, clutching the small packages like treasures. His stomach growled again, reminding him of the hunger that never seemed to quit. Around him, the city roared to life, vendors calling out prices, bicycles weaving through traffic, the distant wail of a siren. But he moved in a quiet bubble, focused only on getting home before anyone saw him and judged him. He thought about the man in the suit, the billionaire. His eyes were different, not cold like most adults, not distant. They held warmth, but also something sharper, something that seemed to see straight through him. It was unsettling, but comforting all at once. When he arrived at his apartment, the door creaked open to reveal his younger sister, clutching a threadbare doll. "Did you get anything?" she asked, voice trembling. She hadn't eaten much either, and her hope was fragile. "Yes," the boy whispered, holding out the day-old cake first. She took it with small hands, and they shared it quietly, savoring each bite. Then he showed her the second package, the one from the billionaire. Her eyes widened, and she stared at it like it was a treasure chest. "Where did this come from?" she asked. I don't know," he admitted, still processing it himself. A man at the bakery. He gave it to me." Their mother, lying weakly on the couch, stirred and tried to smile. "Good boy," she whispered, her voice hoarse. "You're taking care of them all." The boy's chest tightened. Every day was a fight to keep them fed, to keep spirits alive. But today something had shifted. A tiny glimmer of hope had appeared. Across town, the billionaire stepped into his sleek black car, hands clasped over the steering wheel. His mind raced, not with numbers, deals, or meetings, but with the boy. The courage it took to ask for what seemed so little resonated inside him. He was used to power, influence, and control, yet this small act of honesty struck deeper than anything in his boardroom. Why do I care so much? He muttered to himself, leaning back in his seat. It's just a child asking for old cake. But it wasn't just cake. He felt it. He remembered himself as a boy, hungry, overlooked, invisible. And now, sitting in the luxury he had built, he realized the one thing missing in his life was meaningful action. The kind that changed lives, not balance sheets. Meanwhile, the boy tucked his sister into bed, humming softly. Their small apartment smelled faintly of sugar and bread, the day-old cake still warm in memory. He couldn't sleep, his mind racing with thoughts of the billionaire. Who was he? Why did he notice a kid like him? And could this encounter really mean anything for his family? Hours later, he dreamed of the bakery again. The billionaire stood behind the counter, smiling, but in the dream, his hands extended not with cake, but with opportunity, with a way to escape this endless cycle of struggle. The boy woke with a start, clutching his thin blanket, and knew something had shifted inside him, a hope that hadn't existed before. The next morning, the boy returned to the bakery, as if drawn by invisible strings. He wanted to see the man again, to thank him, but also to make sense of the strange pull in his chest. The bakery was already bustling, and as he stepped inside, he noticed the billionaire sitting in the corner, coffee untouched, eyes scanning the room like a predator. Not threatening, but aware of every movement. The boy hesitated. "Good morning, sir," he whispered. The billionaire looked up, a small smile spreading across his face. "Good morning," he replied. "I was hoping to see you again." The boy blinked, heart pounding. I wanted to thank you for yesterday." "Thanking me isn't necessary," the billionaire said, leaning forward slightly. "But telling me how it felt, that matters." The boy swallowed, trying to articulate feelings he hadn't even fully acknowledged himself. I didn't think anyone would notice me, not really. But you did." The billionaire nodded, almost gravely. "That's the thing about noticing, isn't it? Sometimes all someone needs is for someone else to see them, truly see them. And sometimes, seeing is the first step to changing everything." A silence stretched between them, full of unspoken understanding. Around them, life went on. The bakery staff moving busily, customers chattering. But in that small space, a thread had been pulled that would unravel a much larger story. Later that day, the billionaire made another visit, this time with a notebook in hand. He jotted down names, numbers, addresses, plans, ideas, ways to reach out. He wasn't just curious anymore, he was determined. Something in the boy had ignited a fire in him. He watched the boy quietly interacting with the baker, small gestures of politeness, small acts of courage in conversation. It was subtle but powerful, and he realized that courage, like kindness, could grow exponentially if nurtured. At the same time, the boy returned home, sharing every detail with his sister. He wants to help us," he said, almost afraid to believe it himself. "I think maybe our lives can change." His sister's eyes sparkled. "Really?" she asked, clutching his arm. "Yes," he said, "but we have to keep proving we're worthy. We have to keep being brave, even when it's scary." Their mother, hearing the conversation, weakly smiled. "Bravery doesn't mean never being afraid. It means moving forward despite it," she said softly. The billionaire's influence began to subtly ripple through the bakery. He had made quiet arrangements, extra food, small donations, discreet ways to ensure the boy and his family would have meals for the week. But he wasn't finished. He wanted more. The boy's courage had awakened something in him, the desire to change not just one life, but perhaps many. And as the sun set over the city, the bakery hummed quietly with life, unaware that its small act of kindness had become the center of something much larger, something that would escalate far beyond anyone's imagination. Hey, if you're feeling inspired by this story, don't forget to smash that like button, comment what you think the billionaire will do next, and subscribe to follow the journey. This story is just getting started. The next morning, the bakery was quieter than usual. The boy slipped inside, hesitating near the counter. He felt a strange mix of excitement and fear. Something in the billionaire's gaze from yesterday had lingered in his mind like a spark he didn't know how to reach. The billionaire was already there, seated at the same corner table, sipping black coffee. When he saw the boy, he gestured for him to come closer. "Good morning," the billionaire said, smiling faintly. "Did you sleep well?" The boy nodded, tugging at the hem of his shirt nervously. I think so, sir. I dreamed about the bakery." The billionaire leaned back, fingers steepled. Dreams are interesting things. Sometimes they tell us what we're afraid of. Sometimes they tell us what we want. And sometimes, he paused, eyes narrowing slightly, they tell us what needs to happen next. The boy tilted his head, unsure what he meant. What do you mean?" The billionaire's smile widened just a little. "I mean, courage is contagious. And yours, yesterday, reminded me of something I had almost forgotten. The power of noticing, of acting." The boy blinked, trying to understand, but the billionaire's words sounded like riddles. Before he could ask, the billionaire stood and motioned toward the bakery door. "Come with me," he said. The boy hesitated. "But I have school soon." The billionaire shook his head. "No. Today school can wait. What we do next, it's more important." Outside, the billionaire led him to a sleek black car waiting curbside. The boy's eyes widened. He had never seen a car like this up close. The leather seats, the polished chrome, it was almost unreal. "Where are we going?" the boy asked, curiosity mixing with nervousness. "You'll see soon enough," the billionaire said. "But first, a small stop." The car pulled up to a quiet alley behind a small grocery store. From a side door, a worker emerged, carrying bags of unsold bread, pastries, and a few leftover cakes. The billionaire handed him an envelope, speaking in low, calm tones. The boy watched, eyes wide, as the worker nodded and moved to arrange the items. Are those for me?" he asked, barely believing it. The billionaire glanced at him. "Not just for you, but you'll play an important role. Courage, remember? Yours started this chain. Now it grows." The boy frowned, trying to process. I don't understand. Why are you doing this?" "Because it matters," the billionaire said simply. "And because small acts can become great ones if someone dares to lead them." Back in the bakery, rumors had already begun to swirl. Other customers whispered as the boy walked past, holding his packages. The baker watched silently, astonished by the way the billionaire had taken an interest. No one had ever seen someone so wealthy care about a child so quietly, so deliberately. Later that day, the billionaire returned alone to the bakery. He approached the counter, placing a crisp envelope in front of the baker. "Carefully," he said. "This is not just money. This is trust." The baker frowned, confused. "Trust. Trust," the billionaire repeated. "You've kept your bakery honest, fed people who needed it, and today, you are part of something bigger." He left the bakery before the baker could respond, leaving a silence that hung heavier than any conversation. Meanwhile, the boy carried his packages home. Each step felt heavier, charged with anticipation. He barely noticed the usual city noise. The packages weren't just food, they were proof. Proof that someone had seen him, truly seen him, and had decided he mattered. At home, he opened the second package, the one from the billionaire. Inside were more cakes, fresh bread, and a small note written in precise handwriting. "Courage will always be rewarded. Keep going. Keep believing." His sister gasped. It's a lot of food." "Yes," he whispered. "And a message. Someone believes in us." Their mother's eyes glistened with tears. "Maybe things are finally changing," she said softly. "Maybe help really is coming." The billionaire sat in his office that evening, reviewing his notes. He had begun to map out a plan. Not a charity handout, but something transformative. Education, opportunity, mentorship. He didn't want to give money alone. He wanted to create a path, a future that the boy could walk proudly. The first step, he decided, was subtle. Ensure the boy's hunger was alleviated and his family had some stability. But he wasn't stopping there. This boy had potential, and potential demanded action, not just observation. The next morning, the boy returned to school, trying to focus on lessons, but his mind kept drifting. He thought about the billionaire, the bakery, the packages, and he thought about his classmates, some cruel, some indifferent. He realized for the first time that the world might be bigger than just survival. Maybe courage could change things. During recess, he shared a small piece of cake with a friend who had none, whispering, "Somebody believes in us. We can do more." It was a small gesture, but it planted a seed. The friend's eyes widened, hope flickering where despair had been. By midweek, whispers of the billionaire's involvement spread. The bakery, now a quiet hub of subtle generosity, had become a place of rumor and curiosity. People watched the boy differently, not with scorn, but with intrigue. They noticed the way he carried himself, small but dignified, fueled by something more than hunger, a newfound confidence. The billionaire, meanwhile, remained an unseen hand guiding the early stages. He had arranged for discreet deliveries of food to ensure no one knew the source, but each item came with a small note reminding the boy of courage, dignity, and hope. One evening, as the boy sat with his sister, the doorbell rang. He opened it cautiously to find a package larger than any before. He carried it inside, careful not to drop it. Inside was a small stack of books, pencils and notebooks, tools to learn, to grow. A new note read, "Knowledge is power. Use it wisely." His mother clutched the boy's shoulder. "You see?" she whispered. "Someone is helping. Someone believes in you." The boy nodded silently, a mixture of awe, gratitude, and determination filling his chest. He realized this wasn't just kindness. It was a chance. And chances like this didn't come twice. If this story is gripping you so far, smash that like button, comment your thoughts on what the billionaire might do next, and make sure you subscribe so you don't miss the next part. The next morning, the boy awoke to the faint smell of fresh bread from the bakery below. He rubbed his eyes and peeked out the window, catching sight of a delivery truck pulling up. Curious, he ran downstairs, heart racing. There, neatly stacked, were packages of bread, cakes, and other treats, more than he'd ever seen before. He picked up a loaf, feeling the warmth in his hands, and for a moment, he allowed himself to imagine a life without constant hunger. But that fleeting thought was interrupted by a sharp knock on the door. "Open up," barked a voice. It was one of the neighbors, a woman notorious for being nosy and judgmental. "I see all these packages coming in. What's going on here? Are you stealing or scamming someone?" The boy swallowed hard. "No, ma'am. It's gifts," he stammered, trying to sound confident. "Gifts?" she scoffed. "From whom? And why do you get them and not the rest of us?" Before he could answer, his younger sister clutched his arm, wide-eyed. The boy realized that secrecy was impossible. Rumors would spread, questions would come, and soon, everyone would know something unusual was happening. He decided quickly, I can't explain right now, but it's important. Please just trust me," he said, voice shaking but firm. The neighbor narrowed her eyes, unconvinced, but left with a final muttered, "Something isn't right." At school, the boy faced a different kind of scrutiny. Whispers had started spreading among his classmates about the mysterious packages, the sudden bread, the cakes. Some envied him, some mocked him. "Look at him, getting special treatment," sneered one of the older boys, shoving his shoulder as they passed. "What's your secret? Some rich guy feeding you?" The boy tried to walk past without responding, but the whispers followed him, each word pricking at his nerves. He felt the old familiar sting of shame and embarrassment, and for a moment, he doubted himself. Later, at lunch, he shared the bread quietly with his younger friends, hoping to spread the bounty. "Someone believes in us," he whispered, careful that the older kids didn't hear. "We have to be brave, even when people doubt us." One of his friends looked at him, awe and hope flickering in their eyes. "Do you think it'll last?" they asked softly. The boy nodded, determination in his small frame. "It has to. We can't waste this chance." Meanwhile, The billionaire observed quietly from a distance, his mind focused on the boy's world beyond the bakery. He had anticipated that attention might bring challenges, that curiosity and envy could complicate things, but seeing it unfold confirmed his suspicions. He realized that giving food alone wouldn't be enough. The boy needed guidance, protection, and opportunity. And so, he began putting his plan into motion, not just immediate help but long-term support. He reached out discreetly to a local mentor, someone who could help nurture the boy's talents and offer a path forward. It had to be subtle, invisible to the public eye, so the boy could grow without feeling like charity was defining him. Back at home, the boy and his sister worked together to organize the food. They carefully distributed portions, saving some for tomorrow, making sure nothing went to waste. Each loaf, each pastry, was more than sustenance. It was a symbol of hope. Their mother watched them quietly, pride mingling with worry. "You're growing up too fast," she said softly. "But I think this is different. I think someone is truly helping us." The boy nodded, swallowing back emotion. He wanted to believe it, but part of him feared disappointment. He had been let down before, often by the world itself. The following days brought more subtle changes. Teachers noticed a small shift in the boy's demeanor. Confidence replacing timid hesitation, focus replacing distraction. And yet, the scrutiny from classmates intensified. Some were jealous, some suspicious, others simply curious. One day, the older boy from lunch cornered him behind the playground. "Hey, I know something's going on. Who's giving you all this stuff?" The boy clenched his fists, heart pounding. "It's none of your business," he said firmly, a strength he hadn't known he possessed. "Don't get smart with me," the older boy sneered. "People like us don't get lucky. You're hiding something, and I'm going to find out." The boy backed away slowly, realizing that the path forward wouldn't just be about receiving help. It would be about courage, strategy, and protecting the trust that had been given to him. Meanwhile, the billionaire took his own measures. He arranged discreet deliveries to the boy's home to avoid drawing attention. He even set up small educational sessions with the mentor he had contacted, ensuring that the boy would have guidance. Each action was calculated but compassionate. He didn't interfere directly. He believed in letting the boy grow. Courage, he reminded himself, couldn't be forced. It had to be nurtured. And yet, he couldn't help but check occasionally, driven by a quiet curiosity and a growing fondness for the boy's resilience. At the bakery, the boy returned after school one day, heart heavy from the playground confrontation. He leaned against the counter, gripping the edge tightly, trying to calm his racing thoughts. The billionaire was there again, as if waiting for him. "Trouble?" he asked, raising an eyebrow. The boy nodded slowly. "They're jealous. They want to take what I have. I don't know what to do." The billionaire leaned forward, voice low and measured. "Courage isn't just asking for what you need. It's standing up for what you've earned, even when it's hard, especially then." The boy considered this, swallowing hard. "Even if they hurt me? Even then," the billionaire said firmly, "the world will try to knock you down. You have to rise anyway." Something in the boy shifted at that moment. He felt a spark of determination, the realization that this was no longer just about day-old cake or immediate survival. This was about claiming his own future. If you're still hooked, hit the like button, comment how you'd react if you were the boy, and subscribe to follow this incredible story. Things are about to get intense. The next morning, the boy woke early, his mind buzzing with yesterday's confrontation. He remembered the older boy's sneer, the whispers from classmates, and the uneasy tension at home. He glanced at the small packages of bread and cakes, now neatly stacked in the corner. The gifts were plentiful, yes, but they carried responsibility, and he felt it heavy in his chest. He hurried downstairs and found a man waiting in the living room, a calm presence amidst the clutter of the small apartment. The man was tall, dressed modestly, with kind eyes that held the weight of experience. "Hello," the man said gently. "I'm Mr. Adebayo. I was sent by someone who believes in you." The boy froze. "Sent by who?" The man smiled faintly. "Someone who sees courage. Someone who believes that the right guidance can make all the difference. The boy's sister peeked from behind his legs, curiosity and awe mingling in her expression. "Are you going to help us?" she whispered. "Yes," Mr. Adebayo said softly. "But first, we need to understand who you are, what you dream of, and what you're willing to fight for." The boy felt a strange mix of excitement and fear. He didn't know how to respond. He had never had anyone ask him about his dreams seriously. Most adults only focused on survival, bills, and disappointment. I want to help my family," he finally said. "I want to do more. To be brave, like you said." Mr. Adebayo nodded. "Good. That's where we start. Courage isn't just asking for what you need. It's using what you have to create more, to grow, to lift others." At school that day, the whispers grew louder. Some kids had noticed the boy meeting with an older man who clearly wasn't part of the neighborhood. Jealousy festered, and the older boy from before cornered him again. "You think you're special?" he spat, shoving the boy against the lockers. "I saw you with that guy. Who is he really? You're hiding something." The boy took a deep breath, remembering the billionaire's words, Mr. Adebayo's guidance, and the quiet strength he had felt in his chest that morning. "I'm not hiding anything wrong," he said firmly. "I'm learning, and someday, you'll understand why courage matters more than envy." The older boy sneered but couldn't find a retort. He stormed off, leaving the boy standing tall, heart racing, realizing that confrontation didn't always mean defeat. Back at home, the boy met Mr. Adebayo after school. The man had brought notebooks, pencils, and small educational games designed to teach strategy, math, and problem solving. "We'll start small," he said. "Every decision you make, every challenge you face, is an opportunity to grow." The boy nodded, determination building in him. "I won't let my family down. I won't let anyone down." Mr. Adebayo smiled. "That's the spirit. And remember, courage is not just facing danger. It's facing yourself." Meanwhile, the billionaire watched from a distance, keeping tabs on the boy's progress. He had arranged for Mr. Adebayo to mentor him because he knew that short-term help, food, gifts, support, wasn't enough. To truly change a life, the boy needed guidance, structure, and encouragement to make his own choices. He reflected on the moment in the bakery, the simple question about day-old cake, and realized that one small act of honesty could ripple far beyond imagination. It wasn't just about feeding a child. It was about awakening potential, about creating a chain of courage and growth. At the bakery, the staff noticed a subtle shift. The boy had returned to help organize deliveries and interact politely with customers. He no longer slinked behind the counter or hesitated in conversation. Instead, he spoke with quiet confidence, helping where he could, always attentive. "Look at him," whispered one of the bakers. "He's different. There's something about him now." The billionaire, who occasionally visited unnoticed, smiled to himself. Change didn't have to be loud. Sometimes it was quiet, slow, and unstoppable. A few days later, the boy and Mr. Adebayo sat at the small kitchen table, working through exercises. "Imagine a problem," Mr. Adebayo said. "How would you solve it?" The boy thought carefully. "If someone takes what's mine, I'd first try to understand why. Maybe they're desperate, maybe they're scared, and then I'd find a way to help if I can, and protect what's important." Mr. Adebayo nodded approvingly. "Very good. Courage isn't only about standing up. It's about understanding and making choices that matter. The strongest people are not the ones who fight blindly, but those who act wisely and kindly." The boy scribbled notes, the words feeling heavier than any meal he had ever eaten. Knowledge, he realized, could be as nourishing as bread, perhaps even more. Meanwhile, the older boy at school continued his jealousy-driven campaign. He started whispering to other classmates, trying to sow doubt and fear. "He's cheating," he claimed. "He's getting help from some rich man. That's not fair." Some students nodded, unsure what to believe. Others began to watch the boy more closely, waiting for him to fail, expecting him to stumble. The boy noticed the tension. He felt pressure mounting, but instead of shrinking, he remembered Mr. Adebayo's words. Courage wasn't avoidance. It was facing difficulty with calm strength. Later, the boy returned to the bakery to drop off a small delivery for Mr. Adebayo. The billionaire was there, standing quietly behind the counter. He watched as the boy interacted with customers, noticing politeness, patience, and growing confidence. "You're learning quickly?" the billionaire said softly, as if noticing something only he could. The boy glanced up, a flicker of nervousness in his eyes. I'm trying," he admitted. "Trying is good," the billionaire replied. "But remember, action matters more than trying. Every choice you make has consequences. Courage without action is wasted." The boy nodded, taking in the weight of those words. He realized his life was no longer just survival. It was an opportunity, a responsibility to act wisely, bravely, and with intention. That evening, at home, the boy shared a meal with his family, carefully distributing the bread and cakes he had received earlier. His mother watched him with pride, noticing the subtle confidence in his movements. "You're changing," she whispered, "not just with the food, but with your heart." The boy smiled faintly, the weight of responsibility mingling with hope. He had begun to see that courage wasn't just about asking for what you needed. It was about facing challenges, learning, and growing. Outside, the city continued its noise, oblivious to the quiet revolutions happening in small apartments and quiet bakeries. But the ripples of the boy's courage had already begun, invisible yet unstoppable, stretching far beyond anyone's immediate notice. If you're still captivated, hit that like button, comment your predictions for the next big twist, and subscribe. This story is about to reach a turning point that will shock you. The following week brought a change in the neighborhood. Whispers had grown louder, spreading beyond the school walls and the bakery. People noticed the sudden deliveries, the boy's quiet confidence, and the mysterious presence of Mr. Adebayo. Curiosity quickly morphed into suspicion. One afternoon, as the boy walked home from school with his sister, a group of older kids blocked their path. Their faces were scowls and sneers, and the tallest of them stepped forward. "Thought you could just take all this help and not answer to anyone?" he demanded. "Where's your rich friend now?" "Huh!" The boy swallowed hard, fear flickering in his chest. But he remembered the billionaire's words. Courage isn't absence of fear. It's action despite it. "We're not hurting anyone," the boy said, voice trembling but firm. "We're just trying to survive." The group laughed, surrounding them. One of the boys snatched a loaf of bread from the boy's bag and tossed it aside. The little sister cried out. The boy felt anger, fear, and shame mixed together. Before he could react, a familiar voice cut through the tension. "Leave them alone." It was Mr. Adebayo. He stepped forward, calm but commanding, his presence shifting the dynamics instantly. "Do you really want to be remembered as someone who bullied the weak?" The tallest boy sneered, stepping closer. "Who are you to tell me what to do?" "I'm someone who knows that courage is contagious," Mr. Adebayo said firmly. "And right now, you're missing your chance to be brave for something good. Stand down." The kids hesitated, sensing the weight behind his words. The boy's heart pounded, hope flickering amidst the fear. Slowly, the group dispersed, muttering curses under their breath. The boy exhaled, relief washing over him. "Thank you," he said quietly, turning to Mr. Adebayo. "Remember," the mentor replied, "sometimes courage isn't just about facing life alone. It's also about knowing when to accept help, even from someone you trust." Later, at the bakery, the boy recounted the incident to the billionaire, who had come to check in. The billionaire's expression was unreadable, but his eyes held intensity. "You handled that well," he said finally. "Fear is natural. Courage is choosing action despite fear. And you did just that." The boy felt a swell of pride, but also unease. I don't know if I can always do it," he admitted. The billionaire leaned in, lowering his voice. "You will if you remember this moment. Bravery grows every time it's exercised." And just like muscles, it gets stronger with practice. The boy nodded, a quiet determination settling over him. The next challenge came unexpectedly. At school, an announcement was made that there would be a citywide competition for young students, testing both academic and creative skills. The prize? A scholarship and mentorship opportunities for a full year. The boy's heart raced. This was the kind of opportunity he had never dared to imagine. But with excitement came fear. He knew that his classmates, particularly the older boy and his gang, would try to sabotage him. "That's unfair," whispered a friend. "They'll make it impossible for you." The boy shook his head. "Then I'll just have to try harder." Courage isn't avoiding challenges. It's facing them. Mr. Adebayo and the billionaire observed quietly, noting the boy's mindset. The competition wasn't just a test of skill. It was a test of courage, perseverance, and character. At home, preparations began in earnest. Mr. Adebayo provided structured exercises to hone the boys' thinking, problem-solving, and public speaking skills. They practiced late into the evening, with his sister sometimes joining in, offering encouragement. "Remember," Mr. Adebayo said one night, "this isn't just about winning. It's about showing what you're capable of, and proving to yourself that courage, integrity, and determination matter more than luck or circumstance." "Congratulations," the judge said, handing him the certificate and scholarship letter. Applause erupted. The boy looked out into the crowd, catching the billionaire's gaze. The man nodded once, a silent acknowledgement that the journey had only just begun. Back at home that evening, the boy shared the news with his sister and mother. Tears streamed down their faces, and for the first time in a long while, the boy allowed himself to fully feel pride, joy, and hope. This changes everything," his mother whispered, hugging him tightly. "I know," he said softly, still processing. "But it's only the start. We have to keep going, keep being brave." Outside, the city hummed, oblivious to the transformation unfolding within a small apartment. Inside, courage had begun to bloom, stronger than ever, fueled by guidance, opportunity, and belief. If you're feeling the intensity, smash that like button, comment your favorite moment so far, and subscribe because the story is just getting started. Things are about to escalate even further. A week after the competition, life seemed to settle, but only on the surface. The whispers at school hadn't stopped. In fact, they had grown louder. Some classmates were jealous, some suspicious, and a few even resentful. The boy noticed the stares, the pointed comments, and the hushed conversations. But he carried himself differently now, confidence mingled with vigilance. One afternoon, as he walked home, he noticed a small crowd gathered in front of the bakery. Curious, he hurried over and saw a man in a sharp suit filming the bakery for a social media livestream. People were whispering, pointing, and taking pictures. "What's happening?" he asked, stepping closer. "It's some media thing," said the baker nervously. "They want to feature the bakery, talk about donations or some kind of campaign." The boy's stomach tightened. Suddenly, all the quiet efforts, the mentorship, the deliveries, it felt exposed. He glanced at his sister, who clutched his hand tightly. Will they take the food?" she whispered. Before the boy could answer, the billionaire appeared, arriving in a sleek black car. His presence immediately drew attention, and the camera operators focused on him. He stepped out, calm, confident, commanding attention without speaking a word. The boy's jaw dropped. He hadn't expected this public appearance. The billionaire approached the bakery, greeting the staff warmly, shaking hands, smiling at the camera. He spoke clearly, his voice carrying authority and warmth. "We've all witnessed how small acts of kindness can transform lives," he said. "This bakery isn't just about food. It's about community, courage, and opportunity. And today we're taking that one step further." The camera zoomed in on the boy standing behind the counter. Unsure, nervous, but proud. The billionaire continued. "This young man reminded me, and all of us, that courage and honesty matter more than wealth or status. Today, We're launching a program to help children like him, ensuring that potential is nurtured, opportunity is available, and no one is overlooked because of circumstance. The boy's eyes widened. Public attention. Millions watching online. He felt a mix of pride, fear, and disbelief. Not everyone reacted positively. Some neighbors whispered angrily about favoritism. At school, the older boy's envy reached a peak. He started spreading false rumors, claiming the billionaire was bribing teachers, giving the boy unfair advantage, and turning the city against him. The boy felt the weight of scrutiny for the first time. Courage alone wasn't enough anymore. He had to think strategically to navigate jealousy and protect the integrity of what had been built. Mr. Adebayo stepped in at home. "This is part of the journey," he said calmly. "Visibility brings both opportunity and challenge. Remember what we've practiced. Focus on what you can control, act with integrity, and let courage guide your choices." The boy nodded, swallowing hard. The stakes were higher than ever, but he felt ready. That night, the billionaire hosted a private meeting at the bakery. Cameras were gone, but the air was electric with anticipation. He addressed the boy directly. "You've done something rare," he said. "You've faced fear, grown, and inspired others without even realizing it. Now it's time to take the next step." "What next step?" the boy asked, heart racing. The billionaire handed him a small, elegant notebook. Inside were challenges, exercises, and tasks designed to teach leadership, strategic thinking, and resilience. "This is your roadmap," the billionaire said. "Each task will push you, challenge you, and help you grow. And I'll be watching, not to control you, but to ensure you have guidance when needed." The boy's hands trembled as he took the notebook. The responsibility, the opportunity, the weight. It was almost too much. Meanwhile, the older boy and his gang were plotting. Jealousy had metastasized into scheming. They planned to sabotage the bakery, spread lies, and ruin the boy's reputation before the program could even take effect. But the boy, now wiser, noticed their movements. Using lessons from Mr. Adebayo, he anticipated their actions, prepared defenses, and found ways to diffuse tension. One afternoon, when the older boy tried to smear paint on a bakery display, the boy confronted him calmly, documenting everything. "You can try to bring me down," he said firmly, "but I won't let fear control me. I choose courage." The older boy froze, surprised by the boy's composed strength. Without the expected fear response, he faltered and the plan collapsed. Days later, the billionaire returned, this time with a surprising announcement. He had secured a local partnership to fund a scholarship and mentorship program directly tied to the bakery and its mission. Not only would the boy and his sister benefit, but dozens of children in the neighborhood would have access to education, mentorship, and essential resources. The boy's jaw dropped. "For everyone?" he whispered. "For everyone who dares to be courageous," the billionaire replied. "Not just those who ask. Those who act, who persevere, and who lift others along the way." Tears filled the boy's eyes. He realized that the small act of asking for day-old cake had spiraled into something monumental. Not just for him, but for his entire community. At school, the change was noticeable. Classmates who had once jeered began observing the boy differently. Some were curious, some inspired, and a few even approached him for advice. The older boy still lingered, envious, but he had learned a subtle lesson. Courage coupled with integrity commands respect. Meanwhile, the billionaire monitored progress, quietly ensuring the boy's growth continued. He didn't intervene unnecessarily, letting lessons and challenges unfold naturally, but he provided guidance when obstacles became overwhelming. At home, the boy and his sister organized the first batch of mentorship materials, preparing for the program launch. Their mother watched with pride, realizing that their lives were no longer about survival. They were about transformation, hope, and the possibility of lasting change. The boy looked at the stack of notebooks, educational games, and supplies. This is more than I ever imagined," he said softly. "It is," his sister agreed. "And it's because you had courage. Because you believed, even when it was scary." The boy nodded. And because someone else believed in me too. Outside, the city continued its rhythm, unaware that within a small apartment and a quiet bakery, a quiet revolution of courage, mentorship, and opportunity was taking root. One that would ripple far beyond imagination. If you're loving this story, hit like, comment what you think will happen next, and subscribe because the billionaire's next move will shock you even more. It was a rainy Thursday afternoon. The boy hurried along the slick sidewalks, clutching his backpack as he made his way to the bakery. The streets glistened under the city lights, reflecting the tension inside him. Word of the mentorship program had spread across the neighborhood, and while most reactions were positive, some were skeptical, jealous, or downright hostile. Inside the bakery, Mr. Adebayo was arranging a small group of children around the counter, setting up notebooks, pencils, and educational games. The boy's sister helped where she could, and the smell of fresh bread lingered in the air, comforting yet bittersweet. "Are you ready?" Mr. Adebayo asked gently, looking at the boy. The boy took a deep breath. I think so. But what if they don't believe me? What if this fails?" Mr. Adebayo placed a hand on his shoulder. "Courage isn't the absence of doubt. It's taking action despite it. You've already faced fear before and you've grown stronger. Trust yourself and trust the process." The boy nodded, swallowing hard. Meanwhile, outside, the older boy from school watched from the corner. His jealousy had festered into a plan to discredit the program, make it seem like a scam, and ruin the boy's credibility. He whispered to his friends, urging them to spread false stories online and to intimidate participants. The boy noticed the group lurking nearby as he opened the bakery doors. He froze for a moment, heart pounding. But then he remembered the billionaire's words. Courage is action despite fear. "Let them watch," he whispered to himself. "This is bigger than them." Inside, the first group of children arrived. Some were shy, some curious, and others skeptical. The boy greeted each one warmly, sharing bread and pastries, explaining the purpose of the program, and helping them feel welcome. His confidence grew with each interaction. The first challenge was simple: solve a puzzle as a team. The children worked together, with the boy guiding gently, encouraging discussion and critical thinking. Laughter erupted, ideas bounced around, and the room seemed alive with energy and hope. But just as the children began to relax, a commotion erupted outside. The older boy and his friends had gathered, shouting accusations and threats. One of them aimed a rock at the bakery window. The boy's eyes widened, fear gripping him for a fraction of a second. Then he remembered Mr. Adebayo's lessons. Strategic action. He quickly ushered the children to the back room, staying calm as he dialed the police. Within minutes, the local officers arrived, dispersing the troublemakers. The children were shaken but safe. The boy exhaled slowly, realizing he had just faced his first real test of leadership and responsibility. That evening, the billionaire arrived at the bakery unexpectedly. He had heard about the incident and wanted to see the boy's reaction firsthand. "You handled that well," he said, voice calm but firm. "Fear can paralyze most people. You acted. You protected others. That is courage in action." The boy, exhausted but proud, met his gaze. I didn't know if I could, but I tried." The billionaire smiled faintly. "Trying is the first step. Action is the second. Leadership comes after. You're learning all three." Then, in a surprising twist, he pulled out an envelope and handed it to the boy. Inside were tickets for a weekend trip, an invitation for him and his sister to visit the billionaire's private learning center, a place filled with resources, mentors, and opportunities far beyond anything they had imagined. "You've earned this," the billionaire said. "But remember, it's not a reward for bravery alone. It's a chance to grow, to see what's possible when courage meets opportunity." The boy stared at the envelope, speechless. Tears welled in his eyes as he realized the enormity of what had just happened. The weekend arrived, and the boy and his sister traveled with Mr. Adebayo to the learning center. It was a sprawling campus filled with books, technology, labs, and classrooms, all designed to foster creativity, intelligence, and courage. The boy's eyes widened at every turn. He had never imagined such a place existed. He met other children from different parts of the city, all eager to learn, all facing their own challenges, and all drawn together by the promise of opportunity. This is amazing, he whispered to his sister. I can't believe it. His sister hugged him tightly. We earned it. You earned it. Over the next 2 days, the children participated in workshops, challenges, and collaborative projects. The boy excelled, not because he was naturally gifted, but because he had learned how to apply courage, integrity, and strategic thinking. He realized that opportunity alone was meaningless without the determination to seize it. Meanwhile, the billionaire observed quietly, noting the boy's progress. He had orchestrated this visit not as a reward, but as a test, a way to see how the boy handled a new environment, new peers, and higher stakes. Late one evening, the boy stood on a balcony, looking out at the city lights. Mr. Adebayo joined him, quiet but present. You've grown so much, Mr. Adebayo said softly. But this is only the beginning. Real challenges will come. Some will be bigger, scarier, and more complicated. But remember what you learned here. Courage, strategy, and compassion are your greatest tools. The boy nodded, feeling a strange mix of pride, fear, and determination. I won't forget this, he said. The final day of the trip brought a surprise. The billionaire gathered all the children and mentors in a large hall. Cameras were discreetly set up, capturing the moment for posterity. You've all accomplished something remarkable, he said, voice resonant. You've faced challenges, worked as a team, and embraced courage. But now, the real challenge begins. Taking what you've learned back into your communities, your schools, your homes, and creating change that lasts. He turned to the boy, smiling. And you are ready for the next step. The boy's heart raced. Next step? He asked, voice trembling. The billionaire handed him a tablet, preloaded with resources, contacts, and project plans. This is your toolkit. Use it wisely. Inspire others. Protect what's important. And remember, courage without action is wasted. The boy accepted it, feeling the weight of responsibility heavier than ever. But for the first time, he also felt capable, ready, and determined. If your heart is racing like the boy's, smash that like button, comment what you think he'll do next, and subscribe to witness the billionaire's next shocking move. Returning from the learning center, the boy felt a new sense of purpose, a quiet confidence that he carried into the bakery, school, and home. But the moment he stepped back into his neighborhood, reality hit like a cold gust of wind. The older boy and his gang had escalated their schemes. Flyers were posted around the community, spreading lies about the bakery, claiming the boy and the billionaire were manipulating children for personal gain. At school, whispers turned into confrontations. One of the gang shoved him into the lockers, shoving a crudely drawn flyer into his chest. How does it feel to be a fraud? The boy sneered. The boy's hands trembled. Fear tried to creep back in, but he remembered the lessons from Mr. Adebayo and the billionaire. Courage is action, even when fear is real. He straightened his shoulders and faced the group. You can lie, cheat, and spread rumors all you want, he said firmly. But truth and courage will always shine brighter than deception. And I won't let you scare me, or anyone else, into giving up. The older boy's face reddened with rage, but he faltered, unsure how to respond to someone who no longer cringed under intimidation. The following day, chaos erupted at the bakery. A delivery van had been tampered with, bread and cakes were missing, and a few windows were scratched. Panic spread among the staff and children involved in the mentorship program. The boy's heart raced as he surveyed the damage. For a moment, he wanted to collapse, to feel helpless. But then he remembered the billionaire's words, "Action matters more than fear." He quickly organized the children and volunteers to clean up, recover what could be saved, and secure the bakery. With Mr. Adebayo's guidance, they set up cameras, improved security, and coordinated a plan to ensure the program continued uninterrupted. Later that evening, the billionaire arrived in person, his expression unreadable. He surveyed the bakery, noting the damage, but also the resilience of the boy and the team. "You've handled yourself remarkably," he said finally. "This is the moment where courage is tested beyond comfort. You've not just survived, you've adapted, led, and protected others. That is leadership." The boy looked down, exhaustion and pride mingling. I don't know if I'm ready for more," he admitted. The billionaire smiled faintly. "Readiness is a choice. Every time you act, you grow stronger. You've just completed your first real trial. And now we move to the next phase." He handed the boy an envelope. Inside were keys to a small community center in the neighborhood, a place the billionaire had purchased and refurbished to serve as a hub for mentorship, learning, and opportunity. The boy's eyes widened. "All of this, for us? For the children, for the neighborhood, for anyone willing to act with courage and integrity," the billionaire said. "This is not just charity. It's empowerment, and you are now a leader in this mission." Over the next few days, the boy coordinated with Mr. Adebayo to prepare the community center. Word spread quickly, both excitement and skepticism buzzing through the neighborhood. The older boy and his gang plotted their next move, this time more desperate than ever. One afternoon, the gang tried to vandalize the center, spray painting walls and breaking a window. But this time, the boy had anticipated the attack. Using the skills learned at the learning center, he organized a small team of volunteers, set up patrol schedules, and even involved local authorities discreetly. The vandals were caught in the act, forced to face consequences. The neighborhood watched in astonishment. Children who had once feared speaking up now looked to the boy as a symbol of courage and resilience. That evening, the billionaire returned to the bakery and the community center. He observed quietly, noting the boy's growth, his leadership, and his ability to act strategically under pressure. "You've exceeded expectations," he said finally, voice calm but commanding. "This is what happens when courage meets opportunity, guidance, and action. You've turned obstacles into stepping stones, challenges into lessons, and fear into fuel." The boy nodded, overwhelmed but determined. I couldn't have done it without guidance, without you," he admitted softly. The billionaire shook his head. "It wasn't just me. It was you. Every choice you made, every act of courage, every decision to protect others, those are yours. I merely provided the opportunity. You turned it into change." Word of the community center spread across the city. Local media began covering the story, showcasing the boy's leadership and the positive impact on children. The older boy's schemes crumbled under the weight of public support and transparency. For the first time, the boy felt the full effect of his journey. The courage that began with asking for day-old cake had transformed into leadership, opportunity, and hope for an entire community. That night, as he looked out over the lit-up city from the bakery roof, he whispered to himself, "I never imagined it could be like this. But I'll keep going. I won't stop. Not now." The billionaire joined him quietly, a rare smile on his face. "And that is exactly why I chose you. Courage is not a single act. It's a lifetime of choices, and you've just begun." If your heart is racing and you're inspired by the boy's journey, hit like, comment your thoughts on what the billionaire will do next, and subscribe to stay on this epic journey to the final climax. The morning sun streamed through the windows of the newly refurbished community center. The boy stood at the entrance, watching as children poured in, their faces alight with curiosity and excitement. It was a stark contrast to the nervous, hesitant child who had first asked for day-old cake. He had grown into a leader, a symbol of courage, and a beacon of hope. Mr. Adebayo approached quietly, placing a hand on his shoulder. "Today is your day," he said, "not just for leading the activities, but for showing others what courage, action, and integrity look like in practice." The boy nodded, taking a deep breath. He felt a flutter of nerves but knew this was no longer about fear. It was about purpose. At the same time, across the neighborhood, the older boy watched from a distance, realization dawning on him. Every plan he had tried to sabotage the bakery or the program had failed. Every act of jealousy had backfired. The boy he had once mocked had not only survived but thrived, inspiring an entire community. For the first time, he felt something unfamiliar, respect, and a pang of shame. He had underestimated the power of courage and integrity. Inside the community center, the boy began the day's activities. Children worked together on problem-solving exercises, teamwork challenges, and creative projects. He guided them patiently, encouraged them when they hesitated, and celebrated each success, no matter how small. A mother approached him hesitantly, clutching her young child's hand. "I just want to say, thank you," she whispered. "My son has never been so excited to learn. You've inspired him." The boy felt a lump in his throat. He realized that courage was no longer just personal. It had become contagious, rippling through lives he could barely imagine touching. The billionaire arrived unexpectedly, quietly observing from a corner. He had orchestrated this journey with one goal: to awaken the boy's potential and to demonstrate the transformative power of courage and mentorship. Watching now, he saw something more than success. He saw leadership, compassion, and vision forming before his eyes. He approached the boy quietly. "Do you realize what you've done?" he asked. The boy looked up, unsure how to respond. I tried. I just wanted to help." The billionaire smiled. "And that is exactly why it worked. Courage without compassion is empty. Action without purpose is hollow. But what you've done, this is living proof that one small act, one simple choice can change lives." Meanwhile, the older boy had made a decision. Instead of continuing to fight, he approached the community center cautiously, unsure if he would be welcomed. The boy noticed him hesitating at the doorway. "Can I come in?" the older boy asked quietly, voice tinged with hesitation. The boy looked at him, the memory of past conflicts flashing in his mind. But he remembered the lessons he had learned. Courage includes forgiveness, and leadership includes wisdom. "Of course," he said. "There's room for everyone who wants to learn and grow." The older boy stepped inside, eyes wide at the bustling room filled with laughter, learning, and hope. A subtle smile broke across his face. For the first time, he understood the power of courage, mentorship, and opportunity. That afternoon, the boy led a group project, designing a plan to expand the community center's reach. Ideas flowed, discussions sparked, and creativity soared. Each child contributed, learning not just skills, but the importance of collaboration, resilience, and belief in oneself. The billionaire watched quietly, pride hidden behind his calm demeanor. This was the moment he had envisioned. Courage, opportunity, and guidance converging into real, tangible change. As the sun set, casting a golden glow over the city, the boy and his sister stood on the rooftop of the bakery, looking out over the neighborhood. The community center buzzed behind them, a symbol of transformation and hope. "I can't believe all of this started with day-old cake," the boy said softly, a smile tugging at his lips. His sister laughed softly. "It's crazy, but it's real. And look at how many lives you're touching." The boy nodded, a mix of humility and pride filling him. "And it's just the beginning. We have so much more to do." The billionaire appeared behind them, silent, almost ghost-like. He looked at the boy and nodded, a rare expression of satisfaction crossing his face. "You've done more than I imagined," he said. "But remember, true courage is ongoing. Challenges will come, opportunities will shift, and you will face fear again. But now you know what it takes to act, to lead, and to change the world." The boy felt a surge of determination, a sense of destiny. "I'm ready," he whispered, "for whatever comes next." The camera pans across the neighborhood as children play in the community center. Parents chat in the courtyard, and the bakery hums with life. The older boy helps paint a mural inside, finally contributing, learning the value of courage and redemption. Sometimes courage begins with the smallest of choices. Sometimes a question, a plea, or a simple act of honesty can ripple across lives, transforming not just the asker, but the world around them. One child, one mentor, and one unexpected billionaire changed a neighborhood forever. And it all started with a single question. "Do you have any day-old cake?" The final shot lingers on the boy standing on the bakery rooftop, looking out over the city skyline, the sunset casting a golden glow. His eyes gleam with hope, determination, and the promise of more. Thank you so much for watching this journey. If this story inspired you, hit that like button, share your favorite moment in the comments, and let me know where you're watching from. I'd love to see how far this story has reached. And don't forget to subscribe for more powerful stories like this.